everyone, welcome to Logan's Mosh Pig. Glad to have you here. Do me a favor and please subscribe if you haven't already. Listen up, because it's time for a new episode of Rock and Read. Today we'll read chapter 10, 11, and 12 of Crazy from the Heat by Van Halen's original vocalist, David Lee Roth. Here we go. More frequently than not, things are not what they seem. You may have heard of the brown M&M story of Van Halen, and it read like this in the contract. There will be no brown M&Ms anywhere in the backstage area or immediate vicinity, upon pain of forfeiture of the show with full compensation. I would come in backstage, and if I saw brown M&Ms, I'd trash the dressing room and threaten to cancel the show, and the promoter would come backstage all consternated. We pitched it as Caruso forbade whistling backstage, that it was bad luck. It's a luck thing. It's a charm. I made it seem like it was a complete act of self-indulgent extravagance, which I've always found very attractive as a performer, or even a lifestyle. Hey, sign me up. Can she come too? Great! I already mentioned Van Halen was the first band to take huge productions into tertiary, third-level markets. We'd pull up with 9 18-wheeler trucks full of gear, where the standard was 3 trucks max. And there were many, many technical errors, whether it was the girders couldn't support the weight, or the flooring would sink in, or the doors weren't big enough to move the gear through. The contract writer read like a version of the Chinese Yellow Pages because there was so much equipment and so many human beings to make it function. So just as a little test, in the technical aspect of the writer, it would say Article 148. There will be 15 amperage voltage sockets at 20-foot spaces evenly, providing 19 amperes, this kind of thing. And article number 126, in the middle of nowhere, was, there will be no brown M&Ms in the backstage area upon pain of forfeiture of the show with full compensation. So, when I would walk backstage, if I saw a brown M&M in that bowl, well, line check the entire production. Guaranteed you're going to arrive at a technical error. They didn't read the contract. Guaranteed you'd run into a problem. Sometimes it would threaten to just destroy the whole show. Something like literally life-threatening. And I'll give you an example. The folks in Pueblo, Colorado at the university took the contract rather kind of casual. They had one of these new rubberized bouncy basketball floorings in their arena. They hadn't read the contract and weren't sure really about the weight of this production. This thing weighed like the business end of a 747. I came backstage. I found some brown M&Ms. I went into full Shakespearean, "What is this before me?" You know, with the skull in one hand, and promptly trashed the dressing room, dumped the buffet, kicked a hole in the door, $1,200 worth of fun. The staging sank through their floor. They didn't bother to look at the weight requirements or anything, and this sank through their new flooring and did $80,000 worth of damage to the arena floor. The whole thing had to be replaced. It came out in the press that I discovered brown M&Ms and did $85,000 worth of damage to the backstage area. Well, who am I to get in the way of a good rumor? Tonight, on History for All the Wrong Reasons, my special guest, David Lee. Let me invoke the P.T. Barnum prayer. It's right up there with Hallowed Be Thy Name and Hava Nagila. I, being a card-carrying member of the great unwashed public, can testify. We love nothing more than to be duped, except perhaps to be duped well. I'll pay for that every time, and I want the t-shirt. Well, that wraps up chapter 10, so let's move on to chapter 11. My personal record is 5 chicks at once in Nashville. They were all doing each other on the bed, and everybody was arrayed around the bed. We were making video, and the promoter was there, and the agent was there, and the band was there, and I was directing. It was so beyond the pale that all I could think of to do was play like volleyball and go, "Okay, change," and all the girls would shift. And in a moment of inspiration, I ran off to my room with 2 of them and said, "I want to be with both of you." And they sat bolt upright and said, "But we're sisters." Well, we're done with chapter 11, so let's transition to chapter 12. Now, I'm a pot smoker, and what happens when I don't smoke pot? It's like one of those photographs. My life is like one of those photographs where somebody opens the shutter for a long duration and all the headlights and belt buckle reflections make one long beam of light that runs for 8 city blocks. So when I sit down to write a list, it will be 3 items long, maybe 5. Need to do this. Check up on that. When I smoke pot, everything's cut by 2/3 speed, and I can see in between every car. I can see the pedestrians and their haircuts. I can read the sign in the barbershop window, and my list will be 40 things long. Keep these things in mind and confide in Big Ed. Ask Ed in confidence, what's the difference between a pot list and a non-pot list? And he'll tell you something in a little Italy Bensonhurst kind of way, like, well, a non-pot list will take me till 11 in the morning. A pot list will take me till Thursday. Well, chapter 12 is over. Let me know what you thought of these chapters in the comments below. That does it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate the support. I'll see you next time. Till then, rock on.